keep showing up exactly as you are. And that's exactly what I'm doing. And that's what today's podcast is going to be about. Now, I actually already recorded this podcast. I did it as a video podcast. I did it on a different recording platform that I use. And when I played back the audio so I could do the editing, it was in a weird, monstery type voice. So unfortunately, I can't use any of that. So I am recording it now again with sound only. Hopefully my voice is not going to sound like a monster at the end of it, but it's interesting because I was talking about nefarious energies in my last talk that I just did. But this one's probably not going to be as long as the original one. However, hopefully I will still try and get my point across. And what I was talking about is the importance of us showing up as who we are. And I am not someone who normally talks about the energies of the collectives or the things that I'm tapping into around me. I normally try not to buy into that. If I see or feel things, I'll just apply it to my own self. How can I make that work? How can I bring that on? Yada, yada, yada. But lately I have noticed there's a real pull towards what would be perceived as, I guess, for lack of better words, is nefarious energies. And what I mean by that is where there are things around us that want to pull us down, whether it's an old thought, an old belief, an old pattern, something from your past, a behavior that you had no longer kept in your life. It's like there's energies that are there that are waiting for you to fuck up, for less of a better word. It's like they are just sitting there waiting for you to fall off your perch of being who you are and who you really want to be. And if you've been along a healing journey like I have, of where you have moved through so many things and you have worked on so many things and you have allowed situations and experiences to come up so that you could work on the beliefs or the stories or the emotions that you were holding on to, you know that you are now in this state of feeling like a more healed person, feeling more of the true essence of who you are. And for you, for right now, if you're anything like me, will be that there's not as many things that now trigger us or bring us down. The situations that happen in our human experience do not have the same effect that they used to, because we'd healed the trauma around it. We'd healed the wound. We'd moved on from what we were used to feel when we were faced with that situation, or how we used to react to something around us that was out of our control. And we know that we are in this better place, that we are in a place of when experiences like this come up, that we know how to deal with them. We know how to look at them. We know how to be grateful for allowing that experience to come into our awareness so that we can move through it and get to the other side. But I can see for a lot of people how it's going to be something that can easily pull you down if you are not in some sort of healed state. It is going to be something like where those old thoughts come into your head. And I used to get this a lot. I don't get this much anymore. There's no specific reason. I think it's a multitude of the things I've done and my intention and how I want to be right now. But it would be like a thought of, remember when this person did that to you? Or, remember this situation that makes you feel uncomfortable? Is it still making you feel uncomfortable? Or, oh my God, you did not do this or complete this and you have done a shit job at this. It is those sort of thoughts that you hear in your head, and you'll hear people talk about it's your ego. I don't care, you can look at it however you want, but you'll see more of those thoughts coming in. You won't even notice some of them because you will just think they're like a natural thought that is coming through you. Or when you go to actually physically do something, you won't even notice. You will just think you are acting in your normal way. That it's a very fine line of knowing when you are truly being in the truest form of who you are, or when you are being brought down by old thoughts or old programming or beliefs that you used to have. We sometimes don't really notice when the effects of these forces can be so slight. It's not like you're, jumping around, singing, being happy, and suddenly the next minute you're crying and sitting in a corner. It's not as obvious as that. It's these very subtle energies of these thoughts and experiences that you may have had before, they could even be new ones, that are coming into your awareness to try and bring you away from the truth of who you are. The power we have is for you to continue being who you are in whatever way that looks like. If you are moving towards your own goals, your desires, and you're stepping into that new version of yourself, that version of you that you know you want to be, that you know that you can be, and you know that is the truest essence of who we are, that's where we need to go. That is what we need to focus in. That is what we need to look at. It's very important for us now to really always try and check in and use our own discernment in making sure that we are being that truest essence of ourselves. We're not being swayed by the opinions of others. We're not being moved into a direction that may be slightly off path, and it can be so slight. It can be so slight that you won't even know. And sometimes the people around you may not even notice. That is one tool you can use, though, is the people around you. If you are surrounded by people that are similar to you, your journey, and understand what you're going on and what you're doing, they will notice slight changes. They will be able to see when you're right off the path. But sometimes some of these energies are so slight that you won't notice. But how do you stay out of that? How do you stay true? I know there are situations that happen around me that could easily lead me down into a world full of sadness or despair or depression or anger or fear. And I know that still happens, but I know that I have those tools that'll help me bring me out of that, even if I am sitting in that moment, even if I have to move through it in whatever way happens. If it is me sitting in those negative emotions, I know that eventually I'm going to pull myself out. I know that eventually the truest source of who I am is going to go, hey, hang on a minute. This is not you. This is not who you are. This is not you being the highest vibrational frequency version of self. You are better than this. They are just old beliefs and old patterns and old thoughts and shadows and negative energies that are pulling you away from those things that you truly want, from those things that you truly desire, from those things that you know you are meant to do, that you know you are meant to be and see. Even when we don't have the results yet, even when the situations around us are showing us the opposite of how we're feeling, it's that essence of ourselves that is pulling through those moments that is where our biggest growth is. Because when you look at it, every time we are removing another belief, another, for lack of better words, a negative feeling, a negative emotion, we are going to increase our positive emotion. We are going to increase the opposite of that. And if you look at things from a vibrational scale, and I know there's some people who do it really in-depthly with the way the emotions sit and their numbers and the frequencies of the energies around us, however you want to look at it, I know that every time I feel like I'm being pulled back down, that when I come back up, I'm going to be even higher than where I was. So instead of looking at these situations that may be perceived as something negative or something that's going to bring us down, instead it is giving us that awareness to allow us to highlight something that we are still holding on to somewhere. We're attaching whatever it is, whatever realization we're going to come through, we're attaching that belief to maybe the essence of our worth, or we're attaching it to who we think we truly are, even though it's something that we know that we're not. We're using that experience or that event that's happening around us as determining who we are, even though we know that we are not that, or even though we feel that we are not that, or even though we know that we are moving towards a totally different version of ourselves, which no longer allows those experiences to form or become part of our life, but we are allowing them in right now in order for that aspect to be shown to us so we can see it, so we can feel it, we can work through it. And there's a whole range of modalities and thoughts and people. There is no lack of help that you can get to move through that. There is no lack of support. Even if you don't have any money, there are so many free resources out there. There is no excuse for people not working on healing their emotions or their beliefs. If that is something that you feel you need to do, of course, I'm not here to tell people what to do. But for me, I know that this has been or is part of who I am, and it is the journey that I am on, and the places that I want to go to, and the things that I want to achieve, and the desires that I am trying to manifest are all allowing these things to come up, to be seen, to be shown, so that I can look at them, so I can heal through them and work through them. And what happens is all these new feelings, these new ideas, these new high vibrations start to become more of your normal. So instead of being pulled back into those old negative vibrations or those lower vibrational frequencies or experiences we were having, they become less and less, because your normal is now all these higher ones. And as we're getting into that higher state, we are becoming more and more of ourselves. We are removing those layers that were allowing us not to be seen, to not be heard, to not be standing in the truth of who we are and expressing ourselves in the way that we want to. We're no longer being pulled down and just moving forwards towards that truest being of who we are, whether you want to call it whether it's the essence of your soul or your spirit or your highest vibrational frequency, however you want to look at it, it is the truest essence of who you are. And when you're in those moments, when you feel those moments, when you know you're in that highest state and that truest version of who you are, you know how good it feels. And any of my listeners who know that, who've done any healing, know what it feels like when you have moved through something and you get to the other side and you have that feeling and you wake up and you're like, oh my God, I feel so good. And if someone outside of you said, oh, why? It'd be like, I can't explain it. This is just how I feel. It's not because of an external circumstance. It's not because of a material possession. It's just because that's where you're at. That's who you are. There is no reason for it. It's just your ultimate state of being. And that's all we're trying to achieve. And the more and more we get to glimpse at that, the more and more we feel into that, that is going to become our new normal. That is going to become our everyday. That is going to be our homeostasis. This is where we're at. This feeling that I have when I'm feeling good, this is just who I am. I am no longer adhering to these old thoughts or these old feelings or these old beliefs or these old negative energies. Ooh, no thanks. That's not fun. Look at me up here, feeling good, feeling amazing, sitting in my joy. For me at the moment, it's sitting in my creativity, allowing the natural expression of myself through creativity is bringing me immense joy and is allowing me to sit in that highest vibrational frequency, and it feels so good. And it's hard sometimes to really put that into words, and you really can't explain it until you go through it. But the more and more you get to feel that, even when those shitty moments or those experiences that pop up and you're like, oh my fucking God, not this shit again, or oh my God, why do I have to do this? You may feel like that for a moment, but then you're going to remember, that's not who I am. That's not who I am anymore. What are you showing me? Oh, that's right. I see where you're coming from. I see where I'm believing this. I see where I'm holding on to this. Okay, I got it. You let that go, you use whatever you got, and you move on, and you are back into that vibrational state. And with these energies around, that is the number one key I can give you, is to keep holding on to who you are. Whatever brings you joy, Whatever brings you happiness, keep tapping into that. Keep feeling into that. Even when these other shitty things are happening around you, don't allow them to bring you down. And even if they do, know that you were going to come out of it. Know that you were going to call on the truest essence of who you are, and you are making the choice to allow that to be shining through whatever that situation is, and you're going to get to the other side, and you're going to be even better than you were before you even went into that experience. So guys, just stay on your own path. Stay on the track of who you are. Step into your desires. Step into those things that you want, and continue to seek that love, joy, and happiness that is the truest essence of who you are.